when I was more or less 12, 13 years old. I got in touch with BASIC. And at the time, I think I didn't know, but I wanted to write like some kind of AI program. So I wanted to write something that replies back to you so that you can maintain a conversation. And I managed to some easy degree, but then, of course, I didn't succeed. But it was I guess, my initial steps. Then at university, of course, you learn the C++, and I kind of didn't like that much. But then we got to learn a course that was called Declarative and Logic Programming. And then there I learned Haskell, which again, at that point, I kind of didn't like it that much, and Prolog. And I really fell in love with Prolog, to be honest. And the other language that we learned in this case in real-time systems was Ada. And I also really like the concurrency model of Ada. So I guess those would be my first steps in programming. There's one way to do the storytelling, and that is like you are called to kind of try something that you were not doing before. And I think that was the same thing for me. I was doing my PhD, and there was a group doing Erlang. But I was, no, I'm just going to do my own programming language with the research group and so on. So I kind of rejected that. So I didn't look at Erlang until I finished my PhD and I started working at Klarna. Then in Klarna, it's a bank, and they use Erlang, and they were also doing Haskell. So I got a bit in touch with Erlang, but Erlang, I think, was easier to learn, and they had more troubles in this case with Haskell. So in the end, I kind of ended up more doing Haskell. Now, the thing is, I really wanted to contribute somehow to Erlang, and I wanted to learn it a bit better. So then what I did is that there was a hackathon, and we were using something called JSON schema validation. The library was in the draft 4 of the specification, and I thought that for the hackathon, maybe I can bump it up and go to draft 6. And it was an iteration. And I think during that hackathon, it was one day, but I almost finished everything. And then on the next day, I just asked my manager if I can finish the whole draft 6. And I got permission. And then that was my way of contributing back and learning really more about Erlang and the Erlang ecosystem as well. Well, I mean, the most recent thing was in Erlang was, for me, the addition of documentation attributes. And this is also because I work bits and pieces on it. So that's why I think it's really important. So before doing the documentation attributes, we have edoc, which we still maintain, but it's not something that the Erlang OTP team consumes. And then we had some kind of XML format that we use to generate the documentation for Erlang, but it was a bit tricky to use. And then in the end, it was a great idea just to go with documentation attributes, write everything in Markdown, right? Produce good documentation. So that would be one thing. Another one, of course, is the JIT, so just-in-time compilation. And I think this is because in many languages, you see that there is something called a tracing JIT. So the JDM uses a tracing JIT. It needs to check at runtime if it's worth the effort to optimize certain kind of patterns and so on, right? But Erlang doesn't do that. We use something called template-based JIT. And I don't think there are many programming languages out there doing that. We really have great results. So I think that was also a highlight in this case. Then regarding Elixir, I'm kind of following a bit on the sidelines Phoenix and LiveView. I think it's great for web development, to be honest. So if you have to do web development, definitely go for Elixir and LiveView, right? And then the other thing that I'm also kind of, I think there was a recent release of Elixir that says that they have added now type inference. And I think this is because of the integration that they're doing and the experiment they are doing with set theoretic types. And I come from a typing background. So I think that's also really important. And I'm really kind of looking forward to see exactly how this is going to work out in the end. Yeah. The Erlang OTP team is the team in Ericsson that develops and maintains the language. So we're basically getting paid for improving the language. Erlang was born in Ericsson, so that's why this is important. Ericsson has lots of code written in Erlang. And Erlang is not just the compiler on the virtual machine, it's also the set of libraries, which is the OTP part, Open Telecom Platform, that comes with it. And that makes easy to write robust and fault-tolerant applications. And now, as a core member of the Erlang OTP, I guess what I did before was working on the documentation attributes. There was a need to create a Markdown parser. And this is because we need to take the documentation attribute, which is a Markdown, and we need to be able to display that Markdown in a nice way on the Erlang shell. And to do that, we transform the Markdown into some kind of abstract syntax tree that has some kind of structure similar to HTML. So essentially, we take the Markdown, we produce this abstract syntax tree, and the shell already knows how to work with the abstract syntax tree, so that when you type in the shell age and then some kind of module name or something, it displays that correctly. So I would like to see if I can get some time to take this kind of internal Markdown parser and put it in OTP as an application in itself, because I think it would be a good contribution if you need to parse Markdown. But we'll see if I can make it for OTP 28. It's not quite clear yet. The other things, I guess, that I'm going to try to do, and the challenges is, I came from the protocols teams. Now I moved into the virtual machine team, and I'm kind of learning basically the ropes and see how to do optimization and so on. So for now, I hope I can do a small contribution, which is improving a bit list comprehensions. There's a small case where we can reduce the allocation of certain kind of objects. And I think maybe I can contribute with that. And then the other challenges for me is that I'm involved in the Erlang ecosystem as a board member. And I'm trying to see if, given the people that I know from academia and so on, if I can bring research back into Erlang. Because there are many communities that are heavily getting the results from researchers, like Haskell and OCaml and so on. But I don't think there's that much research in Erlang. So I'm trying to see if Erlang OTP as a team can collaborate with different researchers. And so far, we're trying. This is the work that no one sees, but we're trying. We submitted one or two EU proposals, also some other proposals locally here in Sweden. So far, they've been rejected, but that doesn't mean we're not going to get there. It just means we need to work a bit more on it. So I think it's just a matter of time that we get researchers back into Erlang, and we bring more innovation into Erlang. And when I say Erlang, it's also the Beam and any kind of language, because it can affect anything. And yeah, I'm trying to see if we can work on that, basically. Last week, it was the Erlang Workshop in Milan. And yeah, it's my second year, and I'm hoping to see if I can do a third, but that depends on the steering committee. The experience has been great. It's a lot of work from the organization side, but I think the co-chair, Laura Boinea, and myself, we work together pretty well. And I think that shows in the quality of this year's Erlang Workshop. We got quite a lot of submissions, and they were of really high quality. So I'm really happy with how things turned out. Now, the reason why I believe it's important to participate, I think there are different aspects. If you work in industry, it would be great if you submit papers so that you can show the kind of patterns that have been used and that are proven to work. And I don't think any solution needs to be perfect. You can submit something that says, for this case scenario, we know how to do something that works pretty well. And these are the cases that we don't know yet too well how to handle. And I think that's a great contribution, because someone else can now read that, reference your paper, and start working on the things that you didn't know in this case how to handle. So it's really great to have use cases, basically. From the academic point of view, I think if you want to know if your research is relevant for industry, this is a place to go and check. You can just work all you want on the theory, and that is a really important part. But if you want to see if this is applicable to a concurrent and distributed programming language, then the Erlang Workshop is probably the workshop where you need to submit ongoing work, where you can interact with industry and also with other academics. And you're going to get lots of feedback. That's one thing that happened last week at the Erlang Workshop. I thought there were great discussions in it. So it's something really valuable. And now finally, right, as a participant, if you want to know more or less what is the latest that's going on in the Beam ecosystem, because the Erlang Workshop just says Erlang, but it's really about the Beam ecosystem, then you should go basically and participate. You are going to make academic contacts in case you need to be part of the innovation side. And if not, then still you're going to meet plenty of people from industry. So I think it's really important to continue basically building this up so that we can do great things together. In this case, from the OTP team, my colleague, John Hegberg, and I hope I'm not killing the last name, he submitted a paper on work that he's doing to do compiler verification in Erlang. So in this case, the main idea is that we want to verify that the optimized code is semantics preserving. So this means you have your Erlang code, we do some optimizations in the compiler, and we want to see that we haven't broken any of the invariants, because otherwise the virtual machine may crash or something. If the work that he's doing works, the impact means that we are going to be able to perform more aggressive optimizations that we cannot prove right now. So I think this is really important, really cool research, to be honest. And we're trying to see if we can partner up with a university so that they can guide us a bit as well. But it's basically ongoing work. The other thing I'm kind of looking forward to as well is the set theoretic types in Elixir and maybe possibly in Erlang. We'll see. We've talked to the main academic person here, which is Giuseppe Castagna. And we're possibly going to talk as well with José Valim to see if this is something that could be somewhat integrated as well into Erlang. I think set theoretic types are almost the same. It feels almost the same as success typing, which is what Elixir uses. There will be some minor differences, but I think it's worth to explore if we can get even more static guarantees into Erlang. So those are the things that I'm really looking forward. One more thing that I think would be really interesting is to see if we can call Elixir code from Erlang in an easier way. And I think this hopefully will come sooner than later. But I'm really looking forward to be able to see if we can do that. Yeah. Right, so I always wanted to contribute to a non-for-profit organization. And during my master's studies, I collaborated with a non-for-profit called Doctors Without Borders. I had to create a prototype for the learning platform that they have. And I kind of succeeded. I don't think in the end they used it, but it was a really good experience for me anyways. So then the thing for me is that I wanted to contribute to a community. And now, given that our manager, Kenneth, was retiring, and he was in the board of the Erlang Foundation, I thought it would be great if I tried to put myself there to help the community and also to express what are the problems that we have in Erlang OTP and that we don't have resources to handle. I could do the same thing probably outside the board, but when I'm on the board, if there are stipends that come in and so on, we can also reason about if this is something that can help us. And otherwise, that's really tricky to do. So I thought it was a really important move to see if I could get on the board. And I think I was lucky to be elected. So, yeah. And then what is the role that I see for the foundation? I think the foundation is going to be really important in the future, and this is due to the Cyber Resilience Act, which is coming at the end or third quarter, I guess, of this year. And companies have, I think, 3 years or something to implement some kind of security measurements. So what we're doing in this case in the Erlang ecosystem is that we need to try to see if we can lead the community work and explore paths that are going to allow Beam developers and companies that use Beam technology do not have to perform a massive amount of work to be able to be compliant with the Cyber Resilience Act. So I think we're doing some early work there so that we can try to understand how to help the community in the best way we can. But I believe that pretty much any programming language is just as strong as the community. And I think the example that is really clear in this case is Python. Python is a simple language, and it has a ton of libraries for pretty much anything you want to do, right? And this is why if you are part of the community gets stronger, right? And well, I mean, it gets stronger. And also if you want to be guided basically by people that have been writing, in our case, Erlang instead of Python, right? For 15, 20 years, that can guide you and give you pointers and so on. That, I think, is the way to do it. You can, of course, just say, no, I want to learn on my own and I don't need anyone. That's fine. But you're going to be also failing in the places where we know that are problematic. So if you get feedback from the community, it's even better, basically.